With the cost of living going up gradually each month, it's getting more and more expensive when it comes to things like gas bills, electricity bills, food bills for the house, even running costs for cars when it comes to fuel and insurance premiums as well. So it's more important than ever to try and start doing a few jobs ourselves in our cars to try and save having to pay someone else for that service. So in today's video, what I'm going to plan to do is do a few diagnostic checks on my Mark II Leon here with the help of OBD11. I have been noticing the past few weeks now that there's been a few issues in the car when it's running. I want to check them out with the help of this dongle and the app, and also share a few of the functions you can do when it comes to coding, how you can make this more of a usable car day to day, and you can adjust a few settings as well. So what I've been doing as well, I've been speaking just now, the car and the OBD11 app has been running in the background to scan for all the faults that have been stored on the system so far. There's usually always a system fault of something stored in the background, so what we'll do now is we'll go in, check those faults, we'll clear them, see if anything major is still outstanding, and then we'll start diagnosing a few of these running issues that I've been having. Now at the end of the 90s, all cars had to be fitted with these OBD ports so that you could talk to the ECU inside the car. I purchased my OBD11 dongle about 8 years ago when the company was first starting up, and this is a very early first model they made. These dongles and apps are becoming a lot more popular these days, giving the average owner access to their ECU through these apps. Common brands you might have heard of is Carista. They offer two different types of dongles and then your annual or monthly package to access all the features. Carly is another system that's been taken off recently in the last few years, and again paying for a dongle and for the access to all the features is an annual subscription, so here it's about 100 quid per year to access all the features. And then of course there's a professional software called VCDS, and this is basically the proper VAG access system to access all the features on these cars and used by most dealerships and garages. Now I don't think the software is too expensive for the VCDS system itself on the laptop, but to connect the laptop to the car is the expensive part, and the cables dictates how many cars you can connect this system to. So then going back to the OBD11 system that I've got here, so on the website you can see that they access the following range of cars, and you get various types of dongles that you can use to access the systems in your cars. The original dongle that I'm using here is still available if you want to buy it for £35, but it can only work on Android systems. And then of course you have the subscriptions for the full features of these dongles, and of course the more time you buy on these subscriptions, the cheaper it is per month. Through the website you can look up your car quite easily and see what kind of features you can access through the dongle if you were to buy the subscription. If you want to check out the website, I'll leave a link down below in the description, and also if you purchase through that link as well, it'll help support the channel, so thank you in advance if you do. So looking here, what we've got is 4 faulty control units. I could go into them and have a look at each one to see, so they'll be highlighted on the screen in red. So the engine has one, check the faults, O2 sensor, bank 1. What other ones have we got? Central electrics, faults, load management intervention, not a clue. License plate lamp. I did have a number plate lamp resistor go on me. It's an LED lamp that I put in the back, and the resistor went, triggered the light on the dash, and probably stored this fault here as well. So that should be gone once I reset it. So I'm going to go back to the main screen. I'm going to hold to clear all these faults. I'm going to see what is left over afterwards. So we are all green. Now if there was anything major that was still faulty that couldn't be reset because the actual issue was a hardware issue, it would probably still show up, but nothing at all just now. So going to one of the first issues I've been having with the car is I felt that the car hasn't quite started very well in the morning after I've left it overnight. In the dark with the headlamps on, as you turn the ignition on, the car doesn't seem to spark right into life. And looking at this straight away, I can see that the battery on the screen is 11.4 volts and it's a red icon as well. So we click on the icon, we can see battery must be charged. Now, this could be because I've got just now, I'm in the garage with the headlamps on because, well, I could turn them off actually. And you can see instantly the health of the battery has now changed to orange. It's 11.6, 11.7, kind of fluctuating there, and it is yellow. Now, yellow meaning battery discharging. It should be saying about 12.4 to 12.6 volts. That should be the ideal starting off voltage. When you start a car, it usually goes up to 13.9, 14-ish volts. As the alternator is charging the battery, you'll get a higher voltage reading. So I can kind of see just now that straight away my battery might be just past its best. I have had it for about 5 years now, and the average lifespan of a battery, surprise or not, is about 3 to 5 years before they actually need replaced. I think I'll be ordering a new battery for the car. Just once I open the garage door, because I don't want to gas myself for the fumes. So, start the car up here to see if the battery voltage changes. And there you can see it's up to 13.9 9, 14 volts now. So that's it charging. So that's another indication as well to make sure your alternator is working properly, that should be around the 14 volts to make sure that the battery is consistently getting charged as you're running the car. Now for my next one, what we'll do is run the car up to temperature. I'm also going to go into my engine control unit and then go into live data. And you can see that the engine has been running previously. It's not up temperature quite yet, but getting there. You can start seeing straight away from the first box here, General 001, that the coolant temperature is at 60 degrees. You can see the engine idle speed and other settings that I wouldn't be too sure of what's actually meaning. You have got there loads of different things that can give you information about what's happening in the background in the car. We're looking to go to, I think it's number 15 or 14. Yeah, 14. Misfire counter is at 0 just now. Engine load is 18%. I think that's just obviously what you're putting load through the engine, but we're just sitting here ticking over. And misfire recognition has been activated. I think it's activated on all these cars anyway. Then going on to the next screen, we have individual misfire counters for each of the cylinders. So we have 3 cylinders on block number 15, and on 16 we have the last one for cylinder 4 as well. Now I'm just going to be looking at this shortly to see, once we're up to proper operating temperature, to see if I have any misfires, because I'll give you a wee sound clip of the exhaust just now. Doesn't actually sound too bad, but I have definitely noticed, get the camera back in place. I've definitely noticed that on some mornings, or even just sitting at traffic lights, that the car seems to be just sort of a thump through the car. When you get misfires, you usually feel it through the whole body of the car. That doesn't seem to be running just quite right at those points. So I'm curious to see if there is misfires happening in the car, but they usually either happen immediately as you start the car up, so as soon as it's idling when it's cold, and then they tend to disappear then later on, unless it's a really bad misfire. Or you find that once the car is up to operating temperature, these misfires start to happen then, and that's when they show themselves. So while we wait for the engine to get up to temperature to properly check these misfires, what we'll do is do our next check on the car. Now, I've had my timing belt done about, I think, 65,000 miles. I'm on just over 105,000 miles now, so I will need my timing belt done fairly shortly on this car, but the cam chain on the car hasn't been done at all in its life. Now the cam chain is separate from the timing belt. It's on the opposite side of the engine, and it basically just keeps the cams in time with the engine, and there's a variable valve system as well that's at play. I don't understand the full workings of it, but what happens basically is the chain for the cams gets stretched over time. So as the car gets older, the chain becomes slightly looser, and there's ways of checking to see how loose that chain is now becoming and whether it needs changed or not. So if I go to block number 91, what we have here is, first of all, the camshaft adjustment intake. Now, a lot of the pointers and tips I have learned over the last few years have been from a channel called Decimal Tens. The guy that presents that, Nick, is really knowledgeable at this kind of engines, Mark 5 Golf GTIs, Mark 6s, Golf Rs, all the TFSI TSI platforms. He really knows this stuff. And he did a video where he changed over the cam chain because it was badly worn and showing certain issues with the values. The next one is kind of more well known, is this block number 93. So block 93, what you've got here is this phase position bank 1 intake. So this is basically the kind of degree difference between your camshaft at the top and your crankshaft at the bottom. Now, ideally they should be 0, there should be no deviation. Imagine it's like the crankshaft and the camshaft are represented by 2 clocks. So your bottom one is your crankshaft clock, and it's powered off the mains plug. Now your top one is a battery powered clock, and they've both been set to exactly the same time as they're brand new. Now, if you left these clocks both unattended, the batteries in the top clock are meant to last for 15 years, so you come back to these clocks 10 years later and check upon them. So you find the bottom crankshaft clock is still set at exactly the right time, but in relation to that, the top clock is now slightly out by about 3 seconds. This is the same idea if you transfer that 3 seconds into, say, degrees on the camshaft itself. It's slightly deviated now off the initial starting point when the car was brand new. It's basically because over the years and the mileage on the car and the camshaft chain that it's stretched slightly over time, and this is now causing these 3 degrees difference on my car here. Now, they say anything up to 4 degrees is kind of acceptable. You ideally want it to be as close to 0 as possible. 3 degrees on a 105,000 mile car isn't too bad. About 4 degrees they say you should look to change it. 4 to 5 degrees you probably actually hear it's like a chain slap or the cam chain actually rattling around inside the housing inside. I'm not aware of any noise coming from my cam chain at all from the engine bay. All I can really hear is the tappy noise of the injectors, which is standard TFSI kind of trait. But the cam chain itself, I've never heard any noise coming from it, whether it's cold or warmed up. So just now I'm quite happy with that. It's something I'm going to keep on checking though, and I do plan on probably getting the cam chain done at the same time as my next timing belt change, so it's just all done at the same time. Now let's go back and check on those misfire values to see if anything has climbed up. So we'll check at 15, currently still showing as 0. And misfire counter 4 is 0 as well. Now this would be good to spot if you had misfires when it comes to maybe your coil packs are giving you issues. If you've had the issue with the leaking scuttle on top of the bonnet where it's letting water through your bonnet and down onto your engine. If you have no engine cover, because if you've got an induction kit fitted, you might find water inside cylinder 4 along the top where the coil pack is. It's made the coil pack rusty, it might be working its best. It's probably made the top of the spark plug rusty as well, so it's maybe not sparking properly either. So if you are finding misfires on cylinder 4, that's the first two things I would check. Spark plug and coil packs, maybe get them all changed all at once, as well as getting the scuttle panel fixed on the bonnet, making sure that's sealed up. I'll leave a link down below in the description if you want to see the video on how I do that. If you have misfires on any other cylinders though, or including 4 actually, if you have sealed up your bonnet, it's not that issue. It could be something deeper, so it would probably be your injectors next. The injectors on the TFSI engines don't last forever. They do tend to go around the 80 to 100,000 mile mark, if not sometimes before that, depending on the fuel that's gone through them. I use quite high quality, high octane fuel, but I have had to replace 2 out of my 4 so far, so I know that 2 are still original at 105,000 miles. So I'll be looking to get them replaced fairly soon. And if this was showing misfires, which it's not at the moment, I would probably think that it's the injectors that are the ones that are causing it. If your injectors are brand new and your coil packs and your spark plugs, other issues that causes misfires could be a vacuum leak, it could be the PCV valve, it could be the charcoal canister or the evap canister is blocked up. Could, in the worst case scenario, be your piston rings, so you're not actually getting proper compression in your piston and that's causing a misfire. But that would be the last one to check if you do check everything else first. That's a cheaper fix before you start pulling apart your engine. So with those 3 simple checks with OBD11, what I found out is I need to get a new battery for the car to make sure it's starting better in the mornings. I haven't got any misfires at the moment according to this, so my injectors should be okay, and I know my coil packs and spark plugs were changed fairly recently as well. So as I guessed, my injectors weren't okay. I was stuck in traffic for a few minutes. I had the dongle still plugged in and quickly loaded up the app to find out that 8 misfires were on cylinder 3. So I'm expecting it's one of the last 2 injectors I've got on the car. So we'll get them all sent off, probably get the last 2 replaced for brand new ones, and then hopefully that'll cure the misfire issue. And finally, my camshaft chain is slightly stretched with 105,000 miles in it now. It probably does need replaced, so as I said, I'll be looking to get that done at the same time as my timing belt's getting changed. So now let's turn the car off and customize a few things with long coding on the app. Now you're probably noticing in the background there that I've got some trim missing off the side of the car. It's because I had the wee triangular window out when I was getting the car resprayed a few months ago, about 5 months ago actually, so yeah, it's been missing for 5 months. And the 3 screws that hold that wee window in, I've dropped one down the side of the dash and it's somewhere in the footwell, so I'm not going to put the trim back on until I found that screw and then put it back in place. So the first thing I want to do in the car is get the digital miles per hour dashboard activated. I think majority of Mark II Leons now might have this already activated because everyone does this mod as soon as they figure out how to do it. But if you haven't got it already, this is how you'd go about doing it. So first of all, what you do is you go into your dashboard control unit and then you go down to long coding, and you can see on this page here that country version for my one is Great Britain. So what I do here is I would change it to rest of the world. I think a few other countries might allow you to do this as well, but I just use rest of the world because it's guaranteed to work. And then once it's saying rest of the world up there, I'll just hold down the green tick so it saves it, and then drag you over here so you can see the dashboard. So I'll just actually show you what you usually get as standard with these cars. So you'll obviously get your miles per hour up here for the UK, and then down there on the bottom line, second bottom line, you'll see the kilometers per hour, and that's the only digital readout of your speed. Back onto your dashboard settings and scroll down near the bottom, you should have this alternative speed display. Make sure that's not ticked, so take away that tick, and if you scroll up now to your MFD data, if you go down through here, there should be one more setting that's appeared now, which is digital speed. So tick that, then come out of this and scroll across to your settings, and there it is. You now have digital speedometer in miles per hour, and the kilometers per hour is now obviously disappeared. So that's a relatively easy one to do on the car, and like I said, a very common one. So if your car is not with that already and you do want miles per hour, it's a really straightforward one to activate. Kevin from the future here. I forgot to say in my in those last few steps, there's one more step I forgot to put in. So I'll show you the fright I got when I looked at my miles there, but it's changed to kilometers. So just need to go to down to units, distance, and then just change it to miles per gallon and miles for Great Britain, if you're obviously going by miles and not by kilometres like I was there. There it is, all fixed. 105,000 miles. So sorted now. Silly daddy, yeah?
Silly daddy.
Silly daddy. Right, back to the video. Now, next up what we're going to do is activate the beep for unlocking and locking the car. Now, I did have this briefly on the car and I actually started getting a bit tired of it, but if you are wanting that reassuring beep when the car is being locked or unlocked, it's quite good to have, say if you're putting in a multi-storey car park, walking away, you know when you hear that beep that you've pushed the button correctly and the car has locked. So where we go for that is in Central Electrics, go down to long coding again. So it's coding block 21 at the top there, and then you've got locking confirmation via horn, horn confirmation adaptation blocked. I just activate that as well. I'm not too sure if that makes a difference. And then unlocking confirmation via horn, I activate that as well. So all those three boxes I tick depending on what you've got showing on your one. Then I save it, coding accepted, and then I'll show you again. So I go into convenience. Now this ATA might already be on your screen, but you might find that you can't tick that box. Whereas now I can actually edit that box. So with that box ticked, it should now beep when I lock or unlock the car. And also depending on if you do want to have it just for locking and not for unlocking, you could then deactivate the relevant ones. So just depending what you want. But just as an example, I'll show you here that it's now set to work for both locking and locking. That's on the screen there. So we'll close the door. So close the door now, and then if we look to unlock it, sorry, beeps there, and then unlock it, beeps twice to unlock. I didn't actually know it did that, but single beep for locking the car and two beeps to show it's being unlocked. But as I said, yeah, I deactivated mine, so I'm going to turn it off just now as well, mostly because it's, when I get home late at night, it's quite annoying for the neighbours if they hear this annoying beeping noise coming from my car, so I just turned it off, that's why. So finally what we're doing now is we're going to be doing what I think should have been just setting this car as standard out the factory. The car comes with xenon lights, my car comes with xenon lights, automatic headlights, so it's working off a light sensor on top of the windscreen there to see when it's dark enough and they ping on. Now the coming home function and the leaving home function is basically just your car illuminating the road or the driveway in front of it, whether you're walking towards the car when you open it or you're leaving the car and you're locking it. Now my car standard at the factory came with a function, but you had to pull the full beam stock towards you to flash the headlights as you're leaving the car to make the system activate. Now what we can do with long coding in OBD11 is we can actually change it so that it just knows, because of the light sensor, it knows it's dark enough, and whatever you predetermine the time for it to stay on with, when you get out of the car the lights come on automatically. So what I'll do is I'll show you the manual way of what happens first of all. I need to get the lights off the garage. So in your settings on your car, if you go down to lights and vision, this coming home function here. So this just means that it's switched on and it will activate for 20 seconds. You can change it by 10-second intervals, so you can do it 10 seconds up to 30 seconds as well. I'll leave it on 20 and then back. And then come out of this and basically you'll turn your car off, and if you don't do anything, their headlights are off, open the door, nothing. So give them a quick flash like that. Now look to open the door and the headlights come on. So if you can see me okay, it's dark in here now with the garage lights off. We're going to our long coding on the system and we're in electrics again, Central Electrics. So we can scroll along to 95 at the top there. We're going to activate coming home and leaving home. We're going to activate both of those boxes and save that. And you notice since we activated them, 95 has now changed to F5 at the top. So we're now going to scroll along back to the original 95 because it's moved along there, and it says coming home mode is manual just now, so we're going to make that automatic. So we take the tick out of the box and then save it, and that is now saved that the new mode is going to be automatic instead. If we try again what we did before, you see the screen there, we go down to lights and vision, we've actually got coming home and leaving home functions there, and it's the same thing as before, it's just giving you the time for it to stay on for 20 seconds. I'll leave for both of them and make sure obviously it says switched on as well. Leaving home 20 seconds as well. Remove that. Now what I'll do is turn the ignition off, take the key out, and then with the lights off now, I'm not going to flash the headlights at all. I'm going to leave that and just open the door and the headlights now come on automatically. So no more having to pull the full beam stock just to have them flash for a split second. You can just get out of the car, the lights will go on, and they're now going to count down probably 20 seconds. I'm not sure if 20 seconds from the time you open the door or the time that you close the door, lock the car and walk away, and then they'll stay for 20 seconds. But definitely a massive help that if you've got your hands full or you just keep forgetting to flash this every 2 seconds, you can just get out of the car and straight away those headlights will come on for you. So a bunch of handy wee tricks there with the OBD11 tool to basically access a few hidden features in your car that you might not otherwise have access to, and obviously the diagnostic side of things as well. Really handy to see some live data from the engine showing you if anything is going wrong under the bonnet that you're not aware of. And now I know new battery and a new cam chain as soon as possible for the engine. Remember as well, if you do want to pick one up for yourself, you can use my affiliate link down below in the description. That just helps support the channel if you do make a purchase through that link, so it's always appreciated if you do. As always, hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed the video, hit subscribe down below to catch more videos from the channel in future like this one I'll leave in the corner up here for you, and thanks for watching, catch you later, cheers.